know, the studio audience this week is awesome, so much better than last week. I mean, they got the round of applause, right? I feel good about tonight. I feel good. So welcome everybody to Speak Up Monday. This is episode number 433, and tonight is all about health. So as you know, once a month, we have this wonderful collaboration with our sister, Tracy Grunewald from Health Hub Bali, a tourism initiative here in Bali that she will give a little bit more explanation about than I will on this occasion. And look, this is episode number, I think, 20-something, 25 or so, 26 in our series. 28, mamma mia, you see, I'm losing episodes. It's the age, Michael. So 28 episodes in. And so tonight what we're going to do is we'll introduce, or we'll ask our illustrious panelists to introduce themselves tonight so you get a sense of what we're going to be talking about. But one thing I'll just quickly mention is that for many of us here, we've spent quite a bit of time talking about the future of health, and why health is important, and why it's also important to realize that health is individualized. Okay, in other words, we're not all the same. We have different things going on. So what we're really talking about with this range of practitioners and specialists is how you can get the most out of, you know, what we're going to be talking about and discussing tonight. So listen with that ear of how does it apply to me. There'll be a time where you get to ask some questions as well, those in the audience here. Those at home, that's a great reason to come, so you can actually meet people here and meet people there as well. So just before we get started, my name is Robert Ian Bonnick. I'm the founder of Speak Up Monday, Destination Indonesia weekly talk show, and also RIB and Associates, which is a growth strategist and a gateway to Indonesia for foreign and local companies to grow in Indonesia within about 10 different industry sectors. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but just to get us started, get us warmed up. So we'll start with our guests for tonight, and we'll start with you, Toni, looking beautiful as usual.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you could just introduce yourself, maybe a minute or so, give us an idea of what your background is and why you're here tonight, and then we'll eventually come back to me and I'll give us a bit of an overview on what we're going to discuss.
Okay. Hi, everyone, and thank you, Robert. So my name's Toni. I am a naturopath, a herbalist. I feel like I've got my herbal suit on tonight, my plant suit.
I wasn't going to say anything, but...
I know. I wore it especially. I'm a nutritionist, and I'm also a holistic counsellor, coach, and meditation practitioner. So I like to think I've got sort of quite a well-rounded skill set to support my clients. I do specialise in the area of women's health and hormones. I've been lucky enough to work all around the world in different countries, Australia, Singapore, UK, and many different capacities, which has been amazing. And obviously here I've met the lovely Tracy, who will obviously tell us about what Health Hub Bali is. But it's a really interesting space here of how we move forward with healthcare here.
Beautiful, thank you, Toni. Should we go to Michael and then finish with you, Tracy? Yeah. So Michael, over to you.
Hi, everybody there. Okay, I've been practicing chiropractic for about 30 years, 25 years, sorry, somewhere around there anyway. And my journey started in health when I had a major health crisis back when I was quite young. Had Crohn's disease, and then something happened in hospital, and I've already elaborated on this journey, but it ended up with me being told that I wouldn't live much more than 6 months. So I traveled all over the world, went to India for a year, did Panchakarma treatment, studied Ayurveda, and dived into all different wellness retreats and participated or worked in them. And the outcome was that, I'm really amazed by what's happening these days in longevity and functional medicine, that we're able to prevent a lot of the things that happened to me back years ago. So I'm passionate about trying to bring those sort of tools to everybody in Bali, which probably aren't so available to everybody, to make them accessible. So that's me.
Wonderful, Michael. Thank you very much. And Tracy, I can talk about Health Hub if you like, if that makes it easier for you. Yeah. Over to you.
Yeah, my name's Tracy. I'm here as founder of Health Hub Bali. Health Hub Bali is a platform to connect people to better health. But what I'll just say is that the last decade or so, we've been connecting people, when we say real health, whether it be the hospitals, the clinics, the patients, to the practitioners, the retreats, and we are a health tourism, so even the hotels, that they can provide retreats that are medically informed. So this comes from a couple of years ago, this particular Speak Up Monday, on the fact that Rob asked that we see what is the future of health. We were just coming out of COVID that time. It's probably 30 months ago. And through the world, Health Hub is also Health Hub Global, by the way. What we found with most doctors and scientists, that was the science, the future of health. It was about personalising it and also prevention. So when we're looking at longevity and life, we're looking at a different lens. We're looking at vitality. But over the months, we've covered the diseases, the disease model, and as a rule, most practitioners will come to the conclusion there's a big lifestyle component and the preventative side of that. So whether it's a cancer, the autoimmune, the gut health, the mental health. So this is about making Bali an epicentre for health, where we can reset and restore, and have programs here that we can connect with cutting edge science.
Beautiful. And look, I'll give you permission to read. I feel like I'm at school. Permission to read, please. So I'll read a little bit more to give you, those who don't know, a better understanding. Okay, so Health Hub Bali is a health tourism initiative, as we said, with a focus on creating next level health through Health Hub Bali Health Journeys. Whether you like to know that Bali has to offer now, or what options are available to support optimizing your stay here in Bali, this episode will hold valuable answers. Furthermore, Health Hub Bali connecting you to better health. This health tourism initiative, which is making progress in Bali over almost a decade, as I mentioned before, having helped some significant numbers of people, from patients, practitioners, hospitals, government, and continuous to develop health programs and to make progress. So tonight's episode we've called Elevating Your Health Journey, and there's 5 takeaways. There'll be a lot more than 5, but 5 that we'll give you that we will be discussing. Remember as well, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. So if you do have questions, feel free to write them down on your phone or a piece of paper and a pen if you like. It's up to you. But the takeaways are the science behind longevity, the technology for long life, the emotional component, why hormones matter. I think we know we're going to be talking about when it comes to that, Toni, and what the health journey looks like in Bali. So these are the 5 takeaways amongst many others that we're going to be discussing over the next hour or so. So maybe just to get us started, that's a little boring, everybody. Let's start with question number 1. Tracy, who would you like to address this to? The science behind longevity. Michael, I think it's going to you.
Okay. All right. Okay, so longevity is about prolonging your life, for one, and also making the quality of your life as you get older better. So we have blue zones throughout the world where people are living to 100, but do you really want to spend the last 20 years of your life with diabetes, heart disease? So trying to reverse those diseases earlier so that we don't have like a terrible time later in life. But also I think that a lot of younger people need to look at longevity even at 20 and start to plan ahead for the future. I had a patient today in the clinic. His blood pressure was 180 over 90, and he's only 15. So, I mean, we picked that up today, but it's just amazing that some of the younger people are just losing their health so quickly. So, that's a good.
Wonderful. So, Tracy, anything, or Toni, would you like to add anything that the science behind longevity? What's the question?
I mean, I guess it's a huge topic, and there's a lot of really great longevity clinics springing up around the world with a lot of testing and science-based. But I think, for the everyday person, there's so much that we can do to prolong our life, to live a longer, happier, healthier life. And that's perhaps some of the things that, we should be looking at and talking about today.
Gentleman over here, handsome fella, your name again? Troy. Great smile, Troy. So Troy was saying, before, it would be great to also receive some some nuggets of wisdom. You didn't use that word, but let's just ad-lib it. It's okay. Some nuggets of wisdom, some takeaways that the average person, not saying that Troy is an average person, but the average person can take away from tonight and use to gain some kind of value. So from what you've just said, Toni, which is really important about longevity, is there anything that comes up that you think might be a good thing just to, at this stage, just to pass on to our audience here and at home? And when it comes to longevity, what can people do to embrace it and to actually practice it?
So I think from a functional health medicine sort of model, we're always going to sort of be searching for root cause. And so I think, where we need to look at is a much more sort of collaborative model of healthcare where we all understand what we all do. And obviously, prevention, I saw some stats the other day that said sort of 89% of chronic disease that resulted in death. Out of that, 40% could have been prevented. So, our first stop has to be, we need to look at all areas of our life. So obviously food quality, food diversity. We need to look at our gut health. We definitely need to look at our stress levels and our mindset. We need to look at our hormones, blood sugars, and just as a whole rounded picture. I just don't think we can look at one particular area here. And it's, I always say, to my clients, I'm not trying to ruin anybody's life by, being so strict, but I think if we can look at an 80-20 balance in our life, and it has to be a way of life as well. It's not something that we're just going to, people come to Bali and have a detox for a week and then they go back and then they act the same. So I think, it's got to be a way of life.
And the 80-20 that you mentioned, and in a minute, Tracy, we'll ask you to talk about whole health, but the 80-20, what would that be? So 80-20, 80% what? 20% what?
I think 80% of your, is looking after yourself and good practices and everything else. And then, most of us can afford a 20% where, we allow ourselves to eat or, drink or do other things. And for most people, unless we're really, trying to support a specific condition, we're able to manage that.
Thank you very much. So Tracy, the question was the science behind longevity, but also I think there's a way now to let people know about what whole health is, because that's very important for this conversation too.
Yeah. So I'll get back what the science of longevity is. So when we use the word science, it comes from a Latin root of knowledge. So it's the knowledge of longevity, and how we understand it now is big difference than, say, 1,000 years ago. And in different areas, longevity could mean different things. Some areas it still means 140 years, and other areas it may be like around here can be like 50 years. But why? We've got question marks. So that's why we always want evidence-based. We've got technology now and the science in that way that we can double-check and find out and track things and monitor it. But what we're talking about tonight is to elevate health, elevate life. So it's not just about living long, but we're talking vitality. So that's when the science of longevity now is a lot to do, say, in the geriatrics. We don't want just to label that, but we're talking about movement. We're talking about cognitive, keeping our thinking ability, the vascular issues, whether it be dementia or inflammation in the body, our metabolic syndromes, and the way our immune works. So by keeping all our functions at high, what we call optimising our health, we can live in a healthy way. Then the other meanings of that is usually, if we're going to watch the movies on the documentaries on longevity, it's to do with culture, community, the blue zones on the planet, but that's a different subject as well. But today, if there are issues, usually people would say to me, they say, it's in my family. We've all got cancer, we've all got manic depression. But when we actually start looking at it, this could be learned behaviour. So what can we change? And that's why we're saying here in Bali is a place we can shift things. We can learn different ways through our retreats. First of all, we have medically informed retreats where people can have testing, and then what they do with that information, we create time and space, and depending on what type of hotels and that, we can have a team there to work with them as well.
And just explain to the people here, what do you mean by whole health?
Right. So the model is we're not looking at, say, oh, I've got diabetes in the family or the mental health issue. We're talking about connections. And when we start talking about hormones, I think we've got Toni will go into that, and her experience also working with a longevity clinic as well. She's seen now what has happened there in other countries. And here in Bali, it's about bringing it all here into Michael's clinic.
Yep.
So the whole health is that, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, whole health. We're talking mental, gut health, structural, testing first and connecting it all.
Great. And
Not Cartesian model. Yeah.
Great. So just before you pass it on, because I see quite a few new people here. So maybe before you give it to Michael, there you go. Take the mic back. All right. So for most people coming into Bali, like we did a little straw poll before, there's quite a few people that have been here for a year or less. There's been, and I think the majority have been here for 3 to 5 years plus, right? So how do people which are here, maybe just arrived, like our dear friend here, have just arrived, how do they interact with what we're talking about tonight? How do they interact with whole health? In other words, what's that patient journey look like? Or what can it look like for those people here in Bali? Yeah.
We're talking about, as far as Health Hub and Bali, we're talking about having a layer of Bali, the Indonesians, the expats, and the global events. So first of all, to connect, we've got Instagram and Facebook. You can always connect. And usually people only connect when there's a health issue. But gradually we're connecting with concierge services, clinics, and the hospitals where we can have pit stops there and people can get information what health journey looks like there. That's probably the best way. And then they can have navigators and health coaches who understand that, maybe not doctors, but then we can connect them to the centres and the hospitals that may be able to do the testing for you, and then we can explain what options they have.
And just to quickly get this part down, we spoke before with Dr. Patra, the chairman of Bali Medical Tourism Association, on the show a few times. So there's this, was it Bali Integrative Medical Tourism model?
Yeah,
so could you explain just a little bit about it so they understand?
So that was to do with cancer care. So at a national level, here in Indonesia, there's a move now for integrative cancer treatments. So we're using what would be, say, used in my world in Germany or even in Australia, only in clinics. This will be in hospitals. So we've got the backup there of, say, hypothermia. We're working with things that can support whatever treatment. We start west and then we go east. So after the testing, they may need chemotherapy, but how can we make it more effective and less invasive on the body?
Great. And the last thing for everybody here is that, when people hear, let's do this, functional medicine. Raise your hand if you know what it means. Functional medicine, raise your hand. Hi, be proud. Raise your hand if you know what it means. Great. Raise your hand if you do not know what functional medicine means. Just raise it. Okay, so Trace, just let people know what functional medicine is, because I think that's quite important.
It's basically what I was saying before. It's about root cause root cause of any illness. It's not just the medical model where we're looking at, you've got some liver enzymes out, or you've got. We want to find out, why that's happening and what is going on. Again, if we test genetics, you're not defined by your genetics. You're defined by your lifestyle, but by genetically testing, we can see the sort of weaknesses in your body and where you might be headed with that. Really sort of simply put, it's about just really delving in and finding a root cause of what's going on.
Yeah. So if something's blocked, we remove that block, we work on that, and then we can function like a car. So we bring the life back into the body, and it's got a natural innate healing mechanism that it has.
Beautiful. Okay, good. So I'd like to keep everyone on the same page as much as we can. And the final part before we go to Michael, who's waiting to give a great answer, is, so how this might look for a lot of people here is, because I've been a part of this as well. I'm not a doctor or a medical professional, but I've sat and obviously asked questions to a lot of people. So it's a bit like this. So maybe, we're here in Bali, we're not feeling that well, or maybe we're being proactive and thinking, hey, let's go to maybe a clinic or a hospital and get tested, right? So we have these measurement procedures and devices that can Western science-backed, they can tell us for sure what is happening in our body, the diagnosis, right? So we have these available here throughout Bali, and Health Hub can give you some of the probably the ones which are a little bit further down the road than others. Then after that, we reach a stage where, okay, West has diagnosed. Now what about the treatment? So now we have West and East. So now you can choose, this is about, again, reclaiming your own health. You can choose how would you like to treat this. Whereas in some areas of the world, it's just maybe the pharmaceutical way to do things. Here you have the pharmaceutical way, but you also have other ways. And this is where Health Hub Bali, with its health practitioners, also with its health coaches, can then assist you to choose options which are more in line with your thoughts, feelings, emotion, philosophies, and so on. All right? So just to get that bit square. So, all right, so now we're going to go to Michael. I just want to make sure that everyone is up to the same page. So, Michael, over to you.
Okay, Tracy, do you mind if I just use some notes and go through our journey in a longevity clinic? That is the actual person, but I'm just going to use another person's name. So this is about John. He's a businessman. He's feeling pretty good.
Just closer to you, Michael. Sorry, the microphone.
He's feeling pretty good, and he's interested in extending his lifespan. So he goes along to the clinic. They take a comprehensive health history. They dive into a long questionnaire to find out all the aspects of his subjective health. And then they do some advanced testing. So that includes genetic testing, hormone panels, microbiome analysis, metabolic assessment, and telomere length measurements. So Tracy has some really good connections with people that do microbiome analysis that's just cutting edge. In fact, what you've learnt is just amazing. Yeah, so there's just so many good tools out there now. So in this particular clinic, they're looking at the root cause, as you mentioned. So they are looking at they've identified things like hormonal imbalances, early insulin resistance, mild inflammation, and arterial stiffness. Okay, so hormonal imbalances, testosterone was lower than normal. Insulin resistance means that you're just going to develop diabetes in the future. There's a good chance of that happening. And then mild inflammation, so there's something out of whack in their diet or their microbiome that needs adjusting, or how they're sleeping. There's just so many factors behind inflammation in the body. And then arterial stiffness, when our arteries stiffen up over the years, they start to block and they start to cause high blood pressure and then predisposition to having strokes and heart attacks. So, this John was given a diet and nutrition plan, very comprehensive, just aiming at reducing the inflammation in his body and improving his gut health. Supplementation, omega-3s, vitamin D for immune function, and NAD boosters. Some NAD is a popular thing to help increase the energy in your cells. Hormone optimization, they used a bioidentical hormone replacement. So it's a cream that they rub on to bring the hormonal levels of testosterone up. But there is other ways to do this more naturally too, like ice baths and things like that. So stress management, giving advice on doing something like yoga or something like that. Sleep optimization. So the coaches at this particular place were checking in regularly and just trying to hack the sleep so that they're getting a regular routine of sleep, going to bed at 10 o'clock at night, for example. And yeah, there's so many things you can hack as far as your sleep goes. That's a good way to start if you're looking for a takeaway for today. We can talk more about that perhaps. So the high-tech monitoring they were doing at this clinic was wearable technology. So this sort of device can log into their Heads Up Health, which was able to monitor them in real time so they could see what's happening with their sleep and their heart rate and their stress levels. So it's pretty amazing what was being monitored and the adjustments. Do you want me to start?
Yeah, no. I was just saying that's really cool. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah.
All right, okay, yeah, I don't want to go too long, that's all. So they just regular monitoring. They do a check-in at the clinic every 3 to 6 months. This goes over 12 months, so you probably think this is, it is quite expensive at the end of the day. But I did a review on what savings potential you have in the future from doing this. So his energy levels jumped up. His biomarkers. So they do quite a big panel of blood tests that determine where he is in the normal ranges or outside of the normal ranges. They all evened out. So prevention of health issues, his insulin resistance improved. So the tests that they did for that proved that was better. Telomere length regimen was done again. So his aging process is slowing down according to the telomere lengths. So this is all evidence-based too. So I think that's important to understand, that there is people doing peptides and stem cell therapies, and they're not quite evidence-based. Okay, they are making improvements in people's health, and they improve dogs' health, and so therefore they're trying to apply that to humans, which doesn't always work. So, so the initial testing actually, this is estimates, and I think that was probably a while back, but it was $2,500 US dollars. Customized treatment plan was $3,000 annually. Wearable technologies, $500 for the device and $100 per month. And follow-up appointments and ongoing support, $2,000 annually. So then I looked at the preventative benefits of this. So somebody getting treatment for cardiovascular disease later on in life, it's going to cost about $100,000 in medication and management of that. If John had developed diabetes, it's up around the same figure. So age-related costs like arthritis and other osteoporotic problems also add up to that cost. So I put down that potential savings would be about $246,000. So it's worth the spend initially up front at 50. And then also younger people go along to these clinics.
So just to be clear, so all of those treatments you're saying was $50K in this particular example up front, but what you're saying is that, what you're saving in the long term is $246,000.
Yeah, at least.
Okay.
Well, and also being dead. That's probably the one
that's
that you want to save the most.
That's the biggest saving of them all. Sorry.
I can split this room in half, okay? And 50% of these people over here, that I'm not going to be mean to you, but are going to die of heart disease. Okay, let's just do this. And so we're not saying you guys are, but then if we go to the other half of the room and they think, wow, I missed out, I'm lucky I got through. They got cancer over here. And so 2/3 of that.
Disclaimer, Speak Up Monday doesn't endorse what Michael's saying right now. Just a little disclaimer there for the legal profession.
I'm not the Grim Reaper, but unfortunately that's how people die. Like on the death certificate, it's going to say one of those two things. Okay, they died of age-related illness, but one of those things killed them at the end. Except for the small percentage that have we say genetics, but I think it's like the people in the blue zone tend to get past 100 and they're still riding their bikes out in the fields, doing everything. So I think that's probably bullshit. So
one of the interesting things which comes up is that I remember the first episode we did, where it was Ian and a few other guys here, Ian Nirvana Strength, when it's called Nirvana Strength, was, why is it that we're living longer, but the quality is diminished, right? So why are we living longer, but we're sicker? So it's interesting that comes to my mind when we're talking about longevity today, and that was brilliant, mate. Thank you, because, that's clearly like a case that happened. So it's a brilliant example for our gentleman Troy over here, who's like, what are the takeaways? Give us some evidence, So this is particularly good. Now I also realize why the screen is like this. Sorry, I think I said something to it before I shouldn't have done. All right, so let's move forward. So we've got the technology for long life. So is there anything that maybe we've heard a little bit from you, Michael? Maybe Tracy, if you can chime in on this one, and then we'll move to Toni afterwards. So we're talking about the technology for long life or the emotional component, if we've already covered that.
All right, so with the technology, we're talking about testing, the personalised devices and that. But originally the thought was what's happened over the decades in Germany, we'd use the same things that you'd use for biohacking today, we'd probably use in Germany in the cancer clinics to get the body working properly. So whether it be the IVs or the machines, the PMF machines, we want to open up the mitochondria so that it could start functioning better. There's all these type of tools that were used back then. They're even better now, what's available. And America has got some, epic centres as well.
And available now in Bali, though, right? Not just overseas.
Yeah, there are some available in Bali. And also as far as testing, and I know the Bali International Hospital is really on that line. They'll be coming on Speak Up Monday soon to share what they have got available on the Mayo Clinic model. Yeah.
And just past episodes again, I remember we spoke about 3 different things. We spoke about these different it's not the right word, but it's the right word, approaches, right? In terms of, you have the special economic zone, Sanora special economic zone for health that is here, and you can fill us in with that one. And then you have the protocol, that's the word. Then you have the protocol for the public and private hospital system here in Bali and Indonesia at large as well. But I think what we were also saying is that because some people, foreigners, they come here and think, well, I've got to leave the country to have anything serious done because the right expertise isn't here, which is not necessarily correct. So maybe if you can shed a little bit of light on that in relation to this longevity topic.
You need guidance, that's why we go to doctor. We're mainly getting information. We want options and choices first, and we need that evidence-based. And just like you can have a builder, you can have good builders and bad builders. It's the same with doctors. And their scope of understanding, what angle they're coming from. So that's what Health Hub, we're working with doctors who are integrative more than I would say in most countries, because the constitution is based on a whole health, meaning that whole health journey. Yeah.
Beautiful. Wonderful. So, okay, so the next question, the emotional component. For those of you who've been here a few times will know what I'm about to say. If you haven't, just pretend that it's really interesting. So we had a guy on the show, not a guy, a professor, Professor Gel Wirasuta. I remembered his name this time because he's a great guy. So he is the advisor to the governor of Bali, or former governor of Bali now, for traditional Balinese medicine and traditional Balinese wellness. Okay, sitting here in this very chair. So one of the questions that came up was, listen, Professor Gelgo, who was toxicology background in the US, I think. So I asked the question, what is it that maybe most people forget, which is a very important constituent of health? Right? In other words, of well-being, of feeling good. What was it? Now, I was expecting, not that I was trying to answer for him, but I was expecting something along the traditional Balinese wellness or, Balinese medicine side. And he said, well, paraphrasing, he said, Rob, it's the way that you think. It's your thoughts that a lot of people forget is a determinant of well-being and health within the body. Not say it's the only one. Again, I'm not a doctor, just want to say that. But that one really surprised me at the time. And now I guess it's a great way to ask this question. The emotional component in relation to longevity, Toni, what comes up for you?
It's probably one of the biggest ones, actually. So if we think about if we're sitting in a stress response, there is no healing that is going to go on in the body unless we support our mindset and we support the stress response. So it is hugely important there. I mean, if we sort of put it out to everybody here, who here has a regular meditation practice, or who here sort of really feels like they support their mindset?
All right, so she asked the question, let's give people time to answer. So who here has a regular meditation practice or a practice that supports their well-being? Raise your hand. Be honest, people, be honest. Okay, who doesn't? Raise your hand. Be honest. Yes, Thank you very much. Okay.
Do you?
Yes.
All right, well done.
I don't follow it. I don't follow it all the time. I'm like, yes. It's like, do I follow it today? No.
I thought he was just putting his hand up to join in. For starters, meditation is amazing, but it's a practice, and we need to bring it in every day to support ourselves. Community is a huge thing. If people that are lonely, that's the mindset there. The reason you started Speak Up Mondays, right? It was to bring community together so that people felt like they belonged to something. We hear also as well, the practice of being grateful. Like really what we're telling ourselves all of the time, we can really switch around how we feel about something. And even, with our health, if we, oh my God, I'm going to die early of like some terrible disease, and we just believe that, then, there's a good chance we might. So the power of the mind has to really kind of come in here.
Just on what you're saying, and I love what you're saying, again, with this viewpoint of giving people something tangible that they can walk away with. So if you were to say, this is a gratitude practice or this is a meditation practice, could you explain to people quickly what that might look like? So maybe if they're not doing it, they can maybe give it a try.
Yeah, so I went back to studying as a holistic counsellor sort of after COVID, because I realised that actually that just put so much more pressure on everybody that, perhaps they were already struggling with their mindset, but there were so many things there. So, I really like to sort of implement daily rituals, and so that can just, start from anything where we get up. Here's a daily ritual, like get up and the first thing you do is scrape your tongue, right? And it sounds gross, but basically you get up, you're taking all the bacteria off your tongue. It's a ritual that you get into. Then, maybe you might want to sit, in your thoughts or write down, what you are grateful for. But you can also allow yourself, a bit of worry time, and then push that aside and, and then focus, what you are grateful for. Meditation, I'd say, find what works for you. Learn to do it as a proper practice. So I learned Vedic meditation. It's a mantra meditation. It's not about shutting off your mind, where our minds aren't going to shut off, right? So with that, every time we drift off, we just bring the mantra back in, and you can do it anywhere. And the amazing changes that have been shown to happen in the brain with a regular practice are great. Even the sort of, I remember thinking, affirmations, like, what is that? We're going to tell ourselves we're wonderful, right? But we can turn around any thoughts, I'm not good enough at this. We need to sort of change that in our bodies, and we need to change the way we think. And all of these things are kind of small little steps, as well as laughter, nature, all the things. And the biggest thing I'll say here is finding your life sort of purpose and what really makes you tick. Yeah, so your pilot, sort of fire pilot light, is probably one of the biggest ones.
Now you know what I'm going to ask, right? Can you fit it into 2 minutes? I don't know. How do people find their purpose?
Well, so I guess, I think I love, like many of you might know out here, is like Ikigai. Has anyone heard of Ikigai?
Raise your hand. Ikigai, yeah?
Yeah.
Good. Last time I asked you to raise your hands, who hasn't heard of Ikigai? Just raise your hand. Okay, good. Explain what Ikigai is to these wonderful people.
So Ikigai is a Japanese sort of about finding purpose, or how they kind of find their true purpose in life and what it means. And so finding your true purpose, I think I work with a lot of clients, and really sort of boiling down, what do you love in life? What are you good at in life? What's achievable for you in life? What is holding you back? What is stopping you? But how can you make steps to go there? And I think, as I said, Ikigai means purpose, community, movement, all of those things that sort of pull it together.
Love it, love it. Thank you very much. And so maybe we'll move to Michael or Tracy, but just while we're doing that, just to expand upon what you've said. So, been coaching for years, right? And one of the things which I do with clients is that, on what you've just said, just building upon what you've just said, is that write down 5 or 10 things that you love to do, right? A lot of people don't know what, in cities, they get stuck with this. They're like, I don't spend any time doing what I love to do. I'm too busy working, right? So 5 or 10 things you love to do, write them down. Then 5 or 10 skills that you have or can easily upgrade to. It might be, I'm really good at connecting people. I'm really good at, listening. I'm really good at X. So you got the first one, 5 to 10, write them down, is, things you love to do. The second one is, skills that I have, that I possess, or can easily upskill to. And then the third one is, how do I bring those two together? 5 or 10 activities, and the bit which I do is 5 or 10 activities that I can monetize. Right? So what I love to do, what I'm good at, or what I can upskill to, and 5 or 10 things which I can make money from. And then once I'm there, then it's like the low-hanging fruit. So what's the low-hanging fruit here that I can do today, that I can start today, right? And basically the last question is then, what is available with the future as it is, the time as is, what of these 5 to 10 things has legs into the future? It might be an AI-empowered startup to keep Carsten awake, right? It might be that, depending on your skill set. But this is how I use that Ikigai. Yeah. So thank you for that. You reminded me of it. Yeah. So Tracy or Michael, we're on the emotional component, if you'd like to contribute there.
Yep. So we're talking longevity and elevating life, the emotional component. So what happens through life? What is emotion? What is emotion? Feelings. It's a type of energy. The issue today is trauma. And where trauma, decades ago, they would say it was locked into the muscle. So sometimes we can say we're all right mentally, we're in our head, we can say, yes, I'm okay. But if I was to test your body, I would mention something, you'll go weak or you'll feel it in the stomach. So it's clearing those blocks for our body to function properly. And when we say whole health, we're talking every system, our nervous system. We cannot heal when we're in that state. So we're talking about the parasympathetic nervous system, that we actually feel safe at a subconscious level. So now that's where, within our retreats, and when we go into that model, we have practitioners, and there's all sorts of modalities to unwind that, because the body doesn't lie and it will keep growing something in there that's not okay. But we've got the opportunity to clear that. We have all sorts of machines. One of the latest technology is, or it's not latest, but I know in London they were using it years ago, was the voice. You read something for 3 minutes and then you have a report back, and it can map what stage of your life you had the trauma, and you can start identifying, but you might have had it hidden. You'll push it down and won't talk about it because you don't know what it is. And no talk therapy will go through it. But then with the psychosomatic work, we can unwind these things, and then we can watch the body change.
Amazing.
And function properly.
That is so cool. I love these episodes because I learn so much, right? Michael, we're on the emotional component. Is there anything you'd like to add to that? If not, it's okay.
That covered a lot.
Okay.
Well, I guess what I do with myself, anyway, I meditate. I really deliberately get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I make sure that I have time to do it, so I don't have any excuses. If I ever sleep in, I'm just really a little bit annoyed that I missed out on my meditation. So I do a mantra meditation. I've been doing it for 30 years, and I didn't mean to get into it. It's just at the time my girlfriend got me to pay for a course, and then I thought I'm going to get my money's worth out of this, because I didn't realize how much it was. It was $2,000, which I didn't have. So so that made me do it. But actually, it's been such a big transformation for me.
You know what? Just to quickly chime in, who wants to know what the mantra meditation that he follows is? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I follow Maharishi meditation, so it's an old school way, and they give you a very secret mantra.
Mantra.
And
just
for
ask
that, you pay $2,000, and you spend a weekend with them, and they explain the whole method and things like that. So, yeah, it's powerful and it's simple. You know, as soon as your mind starts drifting and going off somewhere, you go back to your mantra. So easy.
So just quickly, and we'll do it very quickly, is that so you're sitting down, you're relaxed, your eyes are closed, open, you let me know that part, and then you say the secret mantra, ask him afterwards, secret mantra, right? And then as your mind begins to wander, you do what? Because I want people to know, what it is you do to be quite specific.
Well, it's good to sit up straight because you're going to go to sleep otherwise. Like after I do it for 20 minutes, and I usually start vocalizing it first, and then I just let it go silently in my mind. As the thoughts start creeping in, I just become aware of them as just thoughts, and there's a deeper meaning behind what our thoughts are coming from. I won't go into detail of that, but if you understand that mechanism too, but the mantra just gets you back onto more a present moment consciousness. So, and that's where your body starts to line up and your energy starts to balance. So that's one of the hacks I do in the day, and then I do ice baths, and I monitor my sleep because I know that I get really ratty and I get emotional when I don't sleep properly, and I can see that if I've had at least like 20 to 1 hour of REM every night, and I've had some dreams and I can sometimes remember them, I wake up fresh and my attitude's good. So I don't know if but I know that if I have a bad night's sleep, for whatever reason, there's noise, like a big party going on next door or something like that, or I'm drinking coffee or something like that, crazy in the afternoon, then I'm way out. And then the next day is affected, and the next day it takes me about 3 days to get back in balance with my... so this is why these devices are so useful.
Just very quick, which one are you using, and would you highly recommend it? Just tell. Yeah, what wearable are you using?
I've tried about 20, to be honest. So.
I have no idea. You're the man to ask.
Right now I'm on a Mi Band 8 because it's... Mi
Band 8?
Yeah, so it's cheap, and I keep on losing them too, and I go surfing and I wear them and then they fall off. So this one is only about like $50. So I mentioned the wearables are about $500. That'd be like a Oura Ring or... there's so many of those high-end ones that you pay a monthly subscription for. But I just think it's really valuable to get your sleep right. If you have to take melatonin for a little while to get that to level out, but exercise is so critical. Also, when you wake up in the morning, if you can watch the sunrise, there's something to that. That's as the day goes from black to blue to gold, as the sun rises, your brain has a circadian rhythm that starts to sink in. And as sunset comes, we go from yellow to blue to dark. Our brain goes, it's nighttime. So within about 3 hours, you should go to sleep. So probably between 8 and 10.
Thank you.
Honestly.
Some really great takeaways there. Tracy will add to it. By the way, questions in about 5 minutes. So if you have a question, just think about what it would look like. Detlev's like, 5 minutes, man, just wait. 5 minutes, questions, feel free. Tracy.
Yeah, and if ones have issues like, say, for meditating, there is other, like the heart math, heart rate variability or measure. And even if someone's a good meditator, what they've found is with that evidence-based little gadget that will measure your heart, sometimes you think you're in what they call coherence, but you're not. These are big meditators. So the idea is you follow that just with your breath in and breath out as long as you can, and you can start getting a track of that. And then you'll feel it. You will feel different.
Yeah, that's quite difficult to learn. You sit down with somebody and they'll teach you.
Yeah.
It takes time to learn. Sit down with someone and they teach you. That's what Michael's saying. Yeah.
The main thing is not to think, just that. And then, it can at a very deep level train you. Yeah.
Love it. So I really want to get to people's questions. So last point, because we've already answered question number 5, what the health journey looks like. We've done that. You did it brilliantly, Michael. Thank you very much. So now we're on about, why hormones matter. So the idea here is that obviously our sister Toni is going to answer this question, and then after that we'll go to you. So if you have a question, remember the mic Tracy has in her hand, not yet, but we'll take it. It will go to you in the audience. Once you get the microphone, don't do it this because it's on. Nothing to push, no buttons to press. Just put it towards your mouth. Don't do this. We can't hear you, right? So just bring it to your mouth. Please be aware also that there might be a second camera there if we have it, which you will probably be on camera as well, right? So if you have a question and you don't want to be on camera, just wait till the end and then maybe ask it then. All right, so Toni, over to you. Why do hormones matter in our topic today of longevity?
Ladies, why do hormones matter? So, but I'm not taking out the men here. It's just that we, as females, we are a lot more driven by our hormones. I'm actually doing some work at the moment for a Dubai-based company that are biohacking women's hormones, and what they're looking at is coming in at a much earlier age for women, and sort of trialing different bioidentical hormones. So the other thing I'd say is that hormones, we're looking at our sex hormones, we're looking at our adrenal hormones, we're looking at our thyroid hormones, and we're looking at our blood sugar hormones. So it's a much bigger picture here. And I think, where we're at now is that blood testing hormones is not very accurate. They're inactive hormones. We really need to kind of test properly. So it's back to sort of looking at functional testing. I use a dried urine test, which called a Dutch test. You would take it, like men, they can take it on any day. Women, they take it on a certain day of their cycle. And if they're not having cycles, they can take it any day. But through that test, we're able to see not only what your sort of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol, DHEA, all of those hormones are doing. But we're also able to see your estrogen metabolism. And that's probably one of the biggest things for women, that we need to know that we are metabolizing or detoxifying our estrogen safely, and that we're pushing it down safe pathways, and that we're not ending up with dirty estrogen somewhere in the body that we don't want them, i.e. breast tissue, ovarian tissue. So it is a huge topic, but one, if we test properly, I can treat most people. No women or men should be having to suffer with hormonal issues. We are again looking at the whole kind of spectrum, the whole picture of what is going on within the body. And then, of course, moving sort of onto that bioidentical hormone picture, there's obviously been a lot of controversy around that in the past, and a lot of that has sort of been dispelled now. So again, sort of looking at individualized treatment. We're also genetically testing for hormones as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Toni. And is there anything else you'd like to add before we go to the audience questions? Feel free.
Yeah, just that why the hormones also are important is because there's a few cancers. They are hormone-driven cancers, and usually connected with stress. So with some kind of major trauma, we can have sustained stress and then have one big trauma. Next minute we have a diagnosis. And you'll find that if we can keep our pathways clear, there's all sorts of other genetic things, we have better chance of not getting cancer, but also not getting a shock about it as well. So yeah, really being aware of this. So thoughts, feelings and emotions that run our hormones are super important, the cortisol, and learning different ways of being. And that's all part of the project here in Bali, to wake up and live.
Wow. So what we're going to do now, Brother Hadis, if we take Tracy's microphone, we'll go to the audience. A few things before we do that. So one is, Health Hub Bali, there's a physical address in Pereiranan. Maybe if you just go to Instagram, Facebook, Health Hub Bali, and then get the address that way. And it's good because, she has a great center there, so you can go there in person and speak to a human, right? I have to say, speak to a human in a world of AI. That we dealt with AI last time is quite interesting. But yeah, so please make sure that you check out Health Hub Bali, because again, it's really important that we arm ourselves with the right knowledge, the right indicators, and be connected to the right network. It's not what you know, but who you know as well, and who knows you, of course. So this is why we do this as well, the first Monday of every month. So you get to know Tracy, you get to know Health Hub Bali, and obviously the wonderful practitioners who are in the network, like our brother Michael and sister Toni. Notice I say now brother and sister, because it's a baptism now, right? You got that. Right, so questions. We had Detlev over here, and we start over here, and then we'll work our way forwards. Maybe we do ladies first. Guzman. Just in front here. Yeah, first. Yeah. So remember, put your mouth to the mic, don't eat it, and please feel free to ask your question.
Hi, I have a question for Tracy. What I know that you suggested we could do the secretive mantra meditation in the morning. What do you suggest we could do to keep a healthy level of estrogen and progesterone?
Beautiful, thank you.
Okay, so I mean, I guess there's it depends on what stage of your hormonal journey you're at. So, you know, if we take it right from when we start our cycles, it actually takes 12 years for that cycle to properly settle down. So, you know, but often like women then they intervene with like birth control, which is obviously suppressing the hormones, you know, and then suddenly we come off of birth control, we want a baby, as, oh, what's happening here? You know, this isn't happening. You know, so basically, I think it comes back down to that whole picture again. Our food quality, environmental factors play a huge part in our hormones. Even all our skincare products, our household products. You know, we're all exposed to clothes. Yes, yeah, totally. You know, basically everything is going to change the metabolism of our hormones. So I think by keeping sort of well-rounded, I think stress was obviously one of them. You know, there's that whole well-rounded factor. And, you know, said if they are going astray, we also have many good herbs, beautiful herbs that are specific for women, and, you know, your nutritional supplements and minerals and all of that kind of thing to support.
Great question. And you know what I loved about your question is that you directed it to a person. So that, you did great. So Michael, Tracy, Toni, I'm not in this. So Michael, Tracy, Toni, so feel free just to direct it to a person as opposed to everybody. And then we can fit more questions in. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation and for sharing your ideas. Very interesting that so much is happening in Bali already. I've got a couple of comments, if I may, and one question.
Cool.
So, because I'm interested in longevity, I've been doing some reading. One comment I have about the sleep monitoring tools, I'm wearing one, but apparently one of the most renowned scientific people on sleep is actually a British guy, says that these tools are not so accurate. So when we look at them, we might think we had that much REM, but actually we didn't, or vice versa. So I'm actually using it. It does help, but at the same time, I do get anxious when I look at it, and the percentage is not as good as it should be. So that's one comment. We are not quite there, apparently, according to this scientific person. The other comment I heard from somebody else, David Sinclair, Australian gentleman, is facing some controversy regarding NMN and NAD. Apparently, it works for some people and it doesn't work for others. But what's more, I heard that if you take the wrong amount, it's actually dangerous. So I start seeing in shops in Bali, you know, gyms take NAD, but it might be wrong. There is not enough data out there to give us an idea yet on how much to take. So that's the comment. Now the question. I'm Italian. My dad passed away at 90. We hear of people who are over 100. And most of these people are genetically good. Okay? So we might think that is the glass of wine or the community, but genetically these people seem to be very strong, as far as I can tell. So the question is, Peter Attia, in his book Outlive, champions exercise. he did a meta-analysis, and he says, the number one thing you can do nowadays is exercise, build muscle. Okay, so I'm very pleased to see Nirvana Fitness crowded, full of really fit people, men and women. The question is this. Now, there is Italian genetics, there is the community, there is the food, the lifestyle, and then there is the exercise. So can you say what is the number one intervention or factor that you think is most likely to give longevity according to your experience?
Grazie, Davide. Just pass it this way. Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. Yeah, just in front of the we'll go back to you. So just while they figure out which one will take it. So usually what we say, and well presented, really good. So in general with your question, go straight to the question if you can. But I really enjoyed what you just did. It was very, very well done. Over to you.
I'll just say something straight away. With the longevity, if, as a rule in the past they would say if it wasn't cancer, people would have dementia with the brain. Okay, so we want all the metabolism, we need to know all those testing to make sure everything's functioning properly. But you talk movement. The other thing, I'm from the densest aged area in Australia, and if people can't move, they will die as well. So to be agile. The muscle component now and the science behind that's phenomenal, even with hormones and everything. So that's why we have now, I was just talking before to somebody about a request for a geriatric centre, and we're talking geriatric, that's from 50 on, all right? So it's okay to have all the young ones at the gyms and that, but it's not, it's right through life, and that's the difference with these places. They're still working in the fields, the people. But we want the oxygen in the brain. So Dr. Dale Bresden in US, maybe 8 years ago, they reversed about 100 cases of Alzheimer's or dementia. And that was purely from the exercise and the oxygen. And they're doing a contrast exercise. We have that here in Bali. We've also got scientists that worked with him as well, living here in Bali, or they were before. So we've got access to put these into clinics and centres, this information.
Wonderful question, wonderful answer. Does anyone want to add to that, or we move on to the next one?
What would be the number one intervention? I mean, there is exercise.
Yeah.
Would you say is exercise? Would you say is lifestyle?
Oxygen.
Oxygen. Okay.
Oxygen.
So maybe perhaps the other two members of the panel can answer.
All right. If you pass the microphone on, so if you'd like to answer, it's great. If not, we can do it after. That's fine as well. We'll do it after. Good. You want to do it? Okay.
Yeah,
go.
I'll just throw in nutrition. That it's something that we can adjust easily every day. So, but that needs to be a little bit personalised too. I think that some people can't tolerate dairy. Some people go well on dairy. There's so many variables there that you can use the microbiome analysis to actually determine what foods you should be having to have optimal health. So I really think that AI technology behind that, because there's there's 700 trillion microbes in our body. There's more microbes in our body than there is human cells, by 100-fold. So if we can get on top of that and have harmony with these organisms, then it's going to be a better life.
I said before that I wouldn't do the hand thing, but I lied. Sorry. Who knows what microbiome is? Raise your hand. That's most people. Who doesn't know what microbiome is? Raise your hand. That's good. So maybe a quick explanation on microbiome as well, so we don't lose people, yeah?
Okay, microbiome. That's actually our microbiome is on our skin, in our gut. It's anywhere on the surfaces of our body, and also in our bloodstream. We have organisms that support our health, and then also organisms that can subtract from our health. And it depends on how our immune system's interacting with that, so that people with autoimmune disease aren't having a good run with the microbiome. Often you can identify that early and prevent the autoimmune disease from developing. So the microbiome, like I said, 700 trillion cells in our body, bacterial probably mostly, in our gut. So it's a big farm of organisms that assist in digestion of carbohydrates, fats, proteins. And babies don't have it. So unfortunately, we're giving babies antibiotics very young, or kids antibiotics, and it takes a long time to recover from that. When you do have a dose of antibiotics, it can take a long time for your body to get back on track. And this is part of our immune system too. So these microorganisms protect us from a lot of diseases and unwanted things entering in our body too, before it gets into our bloodstream and then our liver has to manage it. Okay.
Mate, thank you. Tracy,
But I'll just say on top of that, the will to live, wanting to live and being happy. And what happens is a lot of trauma that people had when they were little, when they get old, it comes back up. And they won't, and then you watch the body break down. You can even get them healthy, get all their enzymes in their body repairing, but they have to want to live, yeah.
And that question just keeps on giving. Bravo. Okay, so we had a question from you. Remember, Michael, Tracy, Tony, addressed to one if possible, and then we can get more questions in.
Yes, so in the context of Health Hub, and because we've heard the word testing so many times, I'm wondering how necessary testing is if we assume that a person is doing all of those things that probably for all of you are pretty basic, like meditation, eating healthy, yoga, just being mindful about their stress levels and just going to nature, for example. If one was to do all those things, would they even come to your clinic? Or, for this question, how necessary is it to test, or could you just give this as an information for everyone and it would already heal a lot of the problems that they come with?
Nice question. Could you pass the microphone back to the gentleman behind you? Tracy, or what one of you? Yeah. So whichever one, yep.
Okay, I mean, I think if you're doing everything like that and you're feeling good, you're not going to need to seek out your doctor or come and see me. Incidentally, naturopaths are, we normally get the people when they're desperate at the end of their journey, rather than us being the first people to come to. But what I'd say to is again, like when we test hormones or gut health, if you test, you will find, so it depends what you're looking for here. With genetic testing, with hormone testing, with gut testing, anything you do will bring up. So I think sometimes it's a bit more of a personal journey about what you're looking for and how you want to support yourself moving forward. But if you're feeling good, then, great.
One thing that Tracy will add, I'll quickly chime in. We had a guy on the show called Tyler Tolman, right? One of the many guests we've had. Incredible guy. His dad, Don Tolman, was the first guy I met years ago in Sydney who spoke about food as medicine. He was the first guy that I met. So he's an incredible guy. It's his son, Tyler Tolman. He's known as one of the detox gurus. If I get it wrong, someone help me out here. And the thing that stuck with me as a normal person who's not a practitioner, even though I loved biology as a kid, still love it now, is that so one of the major challenges or obstacles that he encounters treating thousands of people are those who basically say, hey, a water fast is cool, a blah blah fast is cool, I'm going to do that. They don't get tested. They don't know where they are because he's a big, strong guy, right? And they go and they do these fasts, unsupervised, and they end up doing more damage than good. So one of the prerequisites, and this comes into the health-assisted retreats that Trace will talk about, I'm pretty sure in a minute, is that the reason why, for example, before you enter one of his ecosystem, whether it be a retreat or a one-on-one, is I need to know where your body is at. And just because you're a big, strong guy with muscles doesn't mean that you're good. Doesn't mean that your body can withstand a 5-day water fast, a 10-day liver cleanse, whatever it might be. So by doing those tests, he actually knows definitively where you start from. So now he can actually prescribe and do something that is in harmony with you, as opposed to assumption of this guy looks healthy, he sounds good, looks good, he must be healthy, let's do a 10-day water fast with this guy. So I'm exaggerating, but not. But that's one of the things as a normal person, non-medical person, that I noticed that surprised me. And I didn't think of that before. I just thought, I feel strong enough, I'll do it. But now I think twice. Tracy.
Yeah, so it's life on purpose. The thing is that you'll hear these people suddenly drop dead. They'll be an athlete. Or you'll have people that go their age and they're going to the doctor every month. Their whole life they go there, and then suddenly they've got 2 months to live. Where did that come from? It didn't happen the last 2 months. So the type of testing, when we're talking about functional medicine, we're looking at patterns, we're looking at indicators, and we're looking at the optimal. We want to optimise life. So we're talking health care, not sick care, if that makes sense. So if you want to get some baselines and create a different life and elevate it, we're talking about elevating health, we're creating a different model.
Great questions. I know you got a follow-up, haven't you? I can tell.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, so Detlef, can you just pass the mic back to her? She's got a quick follow-up, and then we're Michael.
Yeah, well, yeah. Can I add to that? A bad answer, but when I was in India 20 years ago, I was doing this Panchakarma for 6 months, and I just felt like there was no end to this journey. And I just said to the guy that was helping me quite often doing the treatments on me, I said, like, how do I know when I'm good? And he said, when you good sleep, good eating, and good pooing, and then smiling lots. So if you want to know a way to measure your health in India, 20 years ago. So anyway, as I said, it was a bad answer, but I feel that's not doing us any service.
SpeakuP Monday doesn't endorse her.
But definitely, if your bowels are moving well, your appetite's really good, and you can eat anything. You feel like you have a cast iron constitution. You have a beautiful sleep every night, and you can just laugh and smile a lot. Then I think you can self-check that you've got a lot of boxes ticked.
Follow up.
Yes, just an answer for the question of if people who do meditation, yoga, eat well, and take care of their stress levels come to your clinic, or if it's people who don't do those things. Does anyone who comes to your clinic do all of these things?
Actually, well, at my office, a lot of the people that come there are between 20 and 30. They come for chiropractic treatment, or they come for other forms of treatment, and they're very proactive in their health. So I think younger gen-wise, very proactive, which is great. So I'm seeing they want testing, and they wear the wearables, and they're going and doing biohacking and cold ice baths and things like that. But I have seen a lot of sick people that are doing all those things. Maybe they're doing all those things and they're meditating, they're doing a lot. So I wouldn't make it a measurement because you're doing all these good things that you're not going to get sick. You may have some underlying health problem. Try to find that root cause of things. Yeah.
Beautiful. Detlef, by the way, questions over here, just raise your hand so I know how many people want to ask a question. Good. At least 3 of you. Good. All right. Detlef, over to you.
So it's a bit provocant, and it's a little bit about simplify. There's a colleague from the MIT, from David Schreier, who was here last week, and his name is Jonathan Gruber. And Jonathan Gruber made a kind of a thing about what is the effect of people going every Sunday to church on their life. And it's kind of pretty simple. They are more healthy, they are more rich, they are more educated, they have better families, they have better sex, blah, 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 blah. It's a bit provocant, sorry. So I love the idea, as probably the parents of our parents did, that going to church on a Sunday being there for 2 hours, and life is good for the next week. I'm a bit worried and scared to hear about all these possibilities and all these things what we should do. Hey, I have a very passionate life. I don't want to exchange my passion, what I have, with reading every day about health. So what is the answer on that? I mean, what is the answer on simplify it? Doing maybe once a week something, getting the right answers, getting the right ideas, and having a very passionate life, what is still kind of healthy. Sorry, very provocant.
Yeah. So
Not provocative, Detlef, at all. Please pass the microphone that way, but thank you for pre-framing it. All good. So over to the questions over here. Yep.
Yeah. So
Thanks, mate.
the future of health is the science, the technology, and then nature. So what we want to do is it's a health journey. We want to elevate it. Okay, we've got more disease now than we've ever had in our life. Now, even beyond science. But what we want to do is get back to nature, get back to basics. So after we've reset and restored over the last 30 episodes, we've covered all this, we get back to sleep, happy, smiling, happy cells, eating the right food, getting the sun, bringing back the balance. Everything's about balance because our body wants to come back into the status.
Thank you, Brother Detlef. So, Mike, you want to add to that? Or you're good? Or we go to the next question?
Well, I want to have another answer.
Okay. Detlef wants another answer. Better give it to him.
Simplify it. Okay, well that is about finding what works for you. Maybe church is, one very cornerstone for your health, and I think everybody finding their purpose in life, it's easier to do it with some sort of spiritual practice and beliefs that are positive and affirming, life affirming, that believing that life is happening for you rather than happening to you. So if we're going to simplify your attitude, maybe maybe you can find that in church, or you can find that on top of a mountain meditating or something like that. But it is an important part of your life, yeah.
Thank you, Michael. So we've got 3 more questions, so just go straight to your question. We're running out of time.
Quick question for me. Thank you for the talk. And so we've been talking about healthy habits and practices that maybe 50 years ago no one knew about, and now science fully backs, and everything the research says it's good. Are there any practices right now that are still a debate and very controversial, but just have you very interested into the future, and you don't recommend to people because you don't have the scientific backing, but just have you very curious about?
Great, thank you. Just pass the mic from behind you, yeah. Michael.
All right, I'm on.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
hot mic, Mike.
Peptide therapy, stem cell therapy, CRISPR. It's actually where we're going in and adjusting the genes. Maybe in 5 years' time we'll just live forever, according to their plans. Maybe that'll be a good thing. We'll live forever and we'll run out of space, I guess, eventually. But they're all controversial ones, particularly stem cell therapy and these peptide therapy. A lot of people are using them in Bali, and it's something that does seem to work. For example, well, peptides are like insulin anyway. Like that was developed based on that principle. But more common things you hear about is Ozempic, which is helping people lose weight, and it's very controversial because it is actually doing that one thing better than any other intervention. So there is. Can you think of any other really controversial things that are happening out there?
Tracy's hand jumped up there.
Just the biohacking that's happening now, because our body needs to come back into state, like a self-regulating system. So even with the hot, the cold, the PMF, we can be using it too much on our cells, and we can create actually like autoimmune diseases, if that makes sense. We're pushing it beyond the limit.
Okay, thank you. Great question. My man to the back.
Right.
Yes.
Michael, you dropped your glasses. You might want to pick them up before you step on
He
them.
smashed his glasses.
Don't-
Speak Up Monday is not
they're on the
responsible
ground.
for people's glasses.
Don't step on them.
Sign a waiver.
Okay, thanks.
This one is for Toni. Toni, there's a lot of talk about blue zones. You've lived in Singapore. You live in Bali now. There was, a lot of news articles about Singapore being a blue zone. You've made a choice to live in Bali, obviously. I would love to hear your opinion whether Singapore is a blue zone, in your opinion, and whether Bali could be considered a blue zone.
Great question. Okay, so I lived in Singapore for 4 years. I also lived there over COVID time, so that might
It hurts. Sorry.
that might taint my view a little bit. To answer, I was reading this too. Well, I saw it too about Singapore being a blue zone. For me personally, so it must always come back to like a personal journey. What makes me happy? What makes me tick? And where I feel comfortable. And I personally feel a lot more comfortable in Bali. I love the culture. I love the people. I love the craziness. I mean, I know a lot of people complain about a lot of things that go on here, but it's life, and there's just so much going on, and I think also it really supports my own sort of philosophy and spiritual type journey. Where I'd be interested to hear how you answered this
After the show.
Carry on.
All right. Thank you. So next question. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the answer, Toni. Yeah.
My question's for Toni also. So you talked earlier about trauma and the impact it has on our health. And I'm a teacher, and I teach teenagers. And I've seen a decline in the well-being of some of my students in recent years, since COVID, since the rise of social media. I myself and my colleagues try and implement a well-being practice within the middle school I teach in, but it's not always well received by the young people I teach. And I was just wondering, from your professional opinion, do you have any advice, techniques, or tips for implementing such a practice?
For teenagers?
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I took a teenager to Singapore when he was 14, and he then ended up in COVID, and he grew up in Bondi in Australia. So he wasn't very happy with his parents. But consequently, what ended up happening through COVID was that he actually got us. He got to spend time with us, where, whereas before, his dad was always traveling and always busy, we weren't around. And he turned around in the end and he said, "Oh my God, I loved COVID. I loved that time that I spent with you. And I loved, just your attention and open." So, I guess from the hard as teachers, but, from the parental point of view, it is always really, spending time with your children. And also I think the other thing with teenagers is they will only speak to you or open up when they want to. So by being around a little bit more or creating that, you never know when you're going to get, where they're at from you. So, I mean, I don't know if that's fully your tips as far as being a teacher, but, definitely for us that has created a long-lasting relationship.
Brilliant. Love the. Okay, what Rose Malia? So last question here. Yeah, and then we're going to do something which I'm going to let you all know about. It's very exciting. I know you can't wait. So just wait after Rose Malia, and I'll explain what that is.
Yes. First of all, I'm Singaporean. Okay.
I knew that was coming. That's why I was laughing, by the way, just quiet.
No, but listen, I live in Bali and I love Bali. But when I watched the Blue Zone, when I saw Singapore towards the end of it being named a Blue Zone, it like, what? That was me, a Singaporean, asking that question. But I went back to Singapore after COVID, and I can understand they are so age-friendly. Everything and everywhere you go, you can be in your 80s, 90s, spaces and the things they have. So that's very important, being age-friendly. And I think that's one of the things that they've done well in Singapore. But having said that, my question is this. I survived a terminal cancer. I was supposed to die in 10 months, but I'm here now, right? The doctors, medical doctors are not allowed to acknowledge medical miracles. They will always state as unexplained. And you will have to come back every 5 years, test your blood, do this and everything else. I've been doing it for the last 30 years. So, which is interesting. And the trauma definitely plays a part, right? As you mentioned that I had a major traumatic experience when I had cancer 3 years later. And a lot of my friends and people I know experience the same thing. So that's evident. Now, aging, I've got a lot of friends of mine who are in their 70s. I'm 65. And I have plenty of friends in their 70s, in their 80s, and they are healthy because they do not think about age or ageism or aging. They continue their life. They're working. They're still working at the age of 70. They're living their life. And you can still find them in Canggu. We would go out and hang out, you know. I mean, it's amazing. They don't think of it. So there's a WHO, I think there's a debate going on now because they say aging is a disease. I think you may have read about it. So I would like to hear from you as to what you make out of it. I mean, people are talking about, or at least WHO is trying to classify aging or ageism as a disease. And there's been a lot of debate around it. My take on this is that you just get older. Do you age? It's really up to you. I mean, this is how I say it. But I would like to hear your thoughts about aging as a disease.
Can I just start by saying you look amazing, and we're all very happy that you're here and to share your story. So I think there's so many facets to what you said, but you know there are some really incredible studies out there about medical miracles or the power of placebo or mind over medicine. Dr. Lisa Rankin, she does a lot on that. So there definitely is some power there about how you perceive that to be, or what you're told and how you age. So I think you participate, you do all the things, you have a young state of mind, all of that. I totally, we don't need to sort of start looking, dressing, acting old. We will get old then. That's my point of view.
Great. So we're going to, Michael, you're next. So after this, we're going to wrap, but I just want to do something after Tracy speaks. Over to you, Michael.
Okay. Yeah. So they've identified aging as a disease. I haven't heard that, but yeah, that's pretty typical of the World Health Organization, I guess. I think that. Yeah, I'm amazed that my journey's been the same, that I was told that I probably wouldn't live, and I had to work it out myself. I think that we can help our parents so much more these days with a lot of... my mum goes out and does Tai Chi and things like that. So there's a lot of things, like you say, in Singapore that help, and in Australia also. I just think in Bali, unfortunately, there's become a situation where the kids are moving away to other cities to work, and there used to be this beautiful extended family situation where everybody supported each other. And most Indonesians don't have health insurance because they just think their parents or their brother or their sister or cousin will take care of them if they have to go into hospital, so they don't need the health insurance to cover that. But that's becoming less and less, and then there's not really that many aged care facilities in there's a few in Bali, but mostly Westerners are going to them. So, but I think it's sad that maybe the younger people have to move away from their families to work somewhere else, and or it's maybe a choice. It's just an evolution, so that things are changing here. But most Balinese and aren't living to a long age, probably around 50 or 60. They have a lot of problems with diabetes and heart disease, and so when I've talked to a lot of my staff, they say, "Oh, my parents died at 50 or something like that." So this is definitely not a blue zone here. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. So look, we're going to we're a bit over time, so I want to be kind to people here. So what we're going to do is, Tracy, in about a minute, it will go to you to close on whatever it is you'd like to say. Now, on doing that, there's something which I really want to do with everybody here. There's two things. So one, the fun part is we're going to take a photo together. Everybody here, somehow we're going to squeeze into this area. We're going to take a photo. It's going to be fun. Great. Number one. Number two, before that, this one is going to be challenging for some. 10 seconds each, because we have some great people here, and I think it's a real shame where the universe has brought us together, right? And if people just then take a photo and leave, you're missing something. You're leaving money on the table, for want of a better term. So I'm going to give 10 seconds to each person, health seeker or health professional, and just say what it is you do. Not your name, just health seeker, I'm here to learn more. Boom, next. Literally like that. If you're someone who is a health professional, say, I'm an acupuncturist, boom, next. That's what I want us to do, because I know that some of you here need to speak to each other, as well as to our illustrious panel of guests. So I invite you to stay to do that. It will not take long, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, with a photo afterwards, okay? All right, so that my closing part, then I go to Tracy, is thank you everybody for coming. Thank you to Brother Guzman, Tropical Nomad, and everyone here assembled. Michael Bishop, you're a legend. Brother Michael Bishop, you're a legend. Sister Toni Baker, you're a legend. Tracy, you already know you're a legend. And look, so we're here every Monday, 6 o'clock for a 6:25 go live. So you don't need to RSVP, you don't need to tell us you're coming, just show up. QR code here to join the group. One-way bulletin only gives you an update on what's coming, which is really good. RIB and Associates, that's one other that I founded, is about companies, people moving to Indonesia or within Indonesia wanting to grow. We're a gateway to Indonesia and a growth strategist. Okay, so again, feasibility, connections, we're a super connector, and promotion. Marketing. These are the things that we do. If that is interesting to you in about 10 different industries, come and see me afterwards. So, Tracy, Health Hub Bali, it's been a great show, all about elevating our health, right? Our health journey. So as a closing, what is it that you'd like to let people know about, and then we can take it from there?
Yeah, basically it's a journey, and it's your journey, and it's about us owning it. It's something that our mums and dads, we didn't learn from them. There's probably from what they call the silent generation, but now we've got the science, we've got the technology, and we've got Bali. And Bali is, we call it a catalyst for change. So even if you don't know, you can find out. We've got health coaches, navigators, co-pilots if there's an issue, but this is for health seekers and vitality seekers. Vitality, we come into the level of longevity, and changing life, we say there's 9 levels. So entry point is functional medicine, and we integrate from there.
Thank you, Tracy. Health Hub Bali, Michael Bishop, Sister Toni Baker. Round of applause to you all. Thank you very much. Right. So where's the microphone? Over there. Yeah? Hand up. No, hold it. So remember, 10 seconds maximum. Don't need your name. The reason why is because afterwards you say, I love what you had to say, what's your name? It's a way to network, just in case you're wondering. So, health seeker or health professional? If you're a health seeker, I'm a health seeker, that's it. If you're a health professional, I do this, ba 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 ba. Got it? Okay. Yeah, of course.